Hello, thank you for joining me. This is my after the fact video for Cave Point. I really had a good time with the Cave Point video. I'd never actually been to Cave Point despite living in Wisconsin my whole life. So that was my first time there, and it was very visually striking. And getting to see it from the perspective of the drone was an absolute treat. And then watching the video at home was even bigger of a treat because it was even nicer looking once I got it up on the 4K monitor. So I wanted to talk about some of the lessons learned here, some things that I do different, you know the gist, you know what I'm trying to do with these after the fact videos. And the Cave Point had a lot more editing because I feel like I do a lot of longer shots, so I'll have maybe 5 or 6 clips I'm putting together. Both Cave Point, I really made sure not to regret not filming something. Because I get home sometimes and then I realize that I only got a small portion, like a 5-6 second shot of something, and then go, man, I wish I would have had more of that. I wish I had a better angle. So at Cave Point, I used 2 whole batteries flying around, taking shots, taking different panning shots, different approaches, just to make sure that I had a good wealth of things to use. But that ended up making the video very busy with various little clips that I stitched together, and I'll show that too. So without further ado, I'll start the video. So right off the bat, I struggled with the, hold on, I'm gonna pause it. I struggled with that title scene. I've been having a lot of fun making titles that are unique, but this one, I don't know, I didn't want to keep using the same format. I was tempted to do the Leo Frigo Bridge format where I had the box in the top, bigger box, and little box in the bottom, but I thought after spending so much time editing this video that this did the job. So I went with that. Also, loved this particular overhead scene. It was so pretty. I loved the different colors too. You have a splash of green, the white from the snow, the off-white for the rocks, the gray for the water here, white caps, blue, and then the motion. Oh man, yeah, I was a big fan. I thought it'd make a really cool title screen. Also love that ugly font I used for Droning Buzz. So I thought I struggled on what order they should go in. I thought maybe open with a close-up or open up with a far-up, but I wanted to make sure that the video was visually engaging right off the bat, and I thought this was a good mixture of those. It's up close, you get to see the water crashing, you get to see the little caves underneath, but also it's far enough back to give you a scope of scale. My approach here wasn't as smooth as I would like, but you can't believe how incredibly terrifying it is having this drone be over water. And only this is probably maybe 50 feet in the air, but I got as low as 14 feet, and that wasn't on purpose. I got down to 20 feet and was moving forward, and then noticed the little altimeter said 14, so it had dropped because it was a little windy that day. My comfort level will get better at that, but the idea of it just dropping in the drink, whew. But man, this is such a cool place. And these waves, look at the rolling waves. This is a fun shot. Look at the blue. Oh, I couldn't believe the kind of turquoise greenish blue, and then out here the darker blue. But from a camera perspective, I really thought this was a cool shot. So this starts off as a pan, starts to be a rotate with a ascend, and I called it when I named the file a spiraling ascend, which I thought was cool because I wanted to give a scope for what the park looked like and what the whole area looked like. And then I think that's the strong suit of the drone, is that it can give views you can't get, but also it can give perspective you can't get. So mixing all that into one I thought was really fun. This is probably my favorite scene. I mean, those caves are striking, but the colors in this. And then right here you see the mixing of the sand being churned up by the water. Oh, this clip was 30 seconds originally on purpose because I knew that it was so good looking that it would be useful for stuff. So I made sure to get a good amount of it. Yeah. I also wanted to show where that came from. So you're not allowed to shoot in state parks, so Whitefish Dunes was off limits, but you can shoot from the water, and this is somewhat near Whitefish Dunes, but still the beach was very pretty with the color of the water and the white caps and the color of the sand. So I wanted to give some context to where the overhead video shot came from, thus this shot. Again, trying to do more dynamic stuff, not as smooth as I'd like, but I'm getting better. I was also using my new remote control for this one, so it was a little bit of a learning curve because it felt different. Is it just me or does this water look like CGI? I just love how it looks. It is so neat. And this is, I didn't want to deprive people of a longer shot of the rocky beach. So I had two of them. I had a rocky beach, but then I had the rocky beach with the tilt up and then the move forward. Oh yeah. And I think what really benefited this was early morning, like 9 o'clock in the morning-ish, 9:10, and the sun was still coming at a shallow angle, so it really illuminated those waves in a cool way. Made them, you could see the transparency in the water a little bit better. Really neat. I'm really excited to come back and check this place out when it's colder, so like maybe February, March, and see all the water and the ice build up. So right here, I dipped down a little bit too low, and there's a cut, I think. Yep. So that cut is because I dipped down a little bit too low, and the signal got lost momentarily. So then the drone started return to home, which was a real butt-puckering moment, because you lose signal right over the water, and it is meant to return to home, and that's what it did here. Is it turned suddenly. I cut the turn out because it was real abrupt. It was just like boop, turned, and then it started going up, and that's what you see here. But I kept it in because it was such a cool shot. There's some ice here. There must have been a lot of spray from the night before. And then it starts returning back to come to me, which I cut out. One thing I want to touch on, because I can't hear it, but I know it's there. Has anybody thought as to how you're hearing waves? Because this drone cannot record sound, because if it records sound, all you would hear is the buzzing of the blades. And when I was standing here near the water watching it come in right before I started filming, it occurred to me that like a big part of this is like the crashing waves and the sound. And there was even some booming noises when the water would hit these caves, because they would kind of clip inward and then trap air and you hear boom. And it almost sounded like thunder or lightning in the distance. It was really cool. But it felt like such a big pivotal part of the experience that I really wanted to include that. So I had done all my filming, and then I drove over to Whitefish Dunes and then drove around to a special launch point that one of the park staff had told me about that was off the park, so I could launch from there. And then I drove all the way back to, which is only like 5-6 minutes, but all the way back to Cave Point Park, and I recorded 6 straight minutes just holding my phone up, a video, to capture the sound. And thought that I would just use that sound as like a backtrack so that it would be an audio track underneath the music. And then it worked, and it was subtle, and your brain just goes, oh, this is the wave noises the camera hears. But then I got to thinking that like the volume of the waves at this height would be different than the volumes of the waves for up close. So then I started getting tricky with it. And here, we'll jump out momentarily. So here, I'll go load up the Cave Point file. Yeah, that's fine. So then you can see how many cuts there were and how many clips I stitched together. But what I did was I took the audio off the video I recorded from my phone, and then I laid it here as a track. And then when I started watching the video and working on it, I got to thinking about how that audio volume of the waves didn't match up. So they got the bright idea to cut pieces from the original wave sounds that I recorded and then paste them underneath, so I had doubled up on it. And then wherever it was closer, I did an audio gain increase to make the wave at this point louder. And then when it was farther away, I would cut it and then reduce the volume, so that way it would give the impression of being higher up and thus further away from the sound. And it's such a subtle thing that like I talked to a couple friends who'd watched the video and asked them if they had noticed the waves, and that like it just seems so natural that no one noticed that they didn't belong there, which is I guess exactly the outcome you're looking for when you do something like that, is to make it feel natural and like just accepted as it should be there. But it was finicky and manual, and I'm not sure there's a better way of doing it. So if you have a better way of doing what I was trying to accomplish here, more eloquent, please let me know. Leave a comment. But otherwise, I was excited to show my little trickery to make the video sound a little bit more realistic or a little bit more engaging for the ear. So we'll jump back in. I also lucked out that the waves were big that day, because they don't, sometimes it's a little bit more glassy, but the big waves really made for a very fun visual experience. I kind of worried that some of the videos that I took here were a little bit redundant, a lot of panning, but man, the caves are just so cool that I wanted to make sure to capture that for people. And I figured if people didn't want to watch 5 or 6 minutes of it, they could just quit out, which is what everybody does with YouTube, right? Just watch until you're bored and leave. But I really like this view because you can see up here is the caves. I think this is around the corner. Here's where the caves start. Oh, I love that, the water. Again, I think you're seeing that sunlight illuminating through the waves is why it looked that way. I like this view because at first you're like, oh, it's just a nice static pan up. But then I whip around the corner and then you can start see the beginning of the caves and the formations. When I first got here, I had no idea how big this formation was, so I just parked at a spot wondering if it was the best. But now after zooming around with the drone, now I know that it kind of extends around the corner here and it's pretty good size, but the park is about the same size as the caves and little cliffs. Yeah, this is going to be really cool in the winter once it's really frozen. Yeah, I'm excited. I'll go back and I'll make another video for it. Maybe not as long, but I'll make another video for it. I'll also come back in summer, so I hope people don't get tired of seeing this cool place at different times of year. Yeah. Wind wasn't too bad that day. It was pretty easy to shoot. The drone didn't complain too much. There's a couple times where I got higher up and it complained about wind, but otherwise it really wasn't an issue. I do wish, though, that I would have walked out. There was a little protrusion that people walk out on. I wish I would have gone out on that because it would give a little bit better radio signal, I think, because the trees interfere. I also wish that I was able to lower down and see into the caves, but I was not gutsy enough to get that close to the water because of the spray. Yeah, it made me really worried. Yeah, that beach is so cool looking. I love it. Again, I love that the sand getting churned up and get little like clouds of brown and reddish orange. Oh man, huge fan. I made this little like the outro just because it's. I did 2 shots. I did one straight down static and then I did one with it scrolling forward, covering time and distance. Yeah, I was very pleased how this turned out. I was very excited to get this edited. So that is my Cave Point video. Hopefully you had fun watching it as I had making it. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions on how things I could do better, or maybe something I could change in my editing process that'd make me a little bit more efficient and always learning, there's like an endless amount of information out there. Endless amount of information for Adobe Premiere, and it's very overwhelming, and I'm just kind of take it in little chunks and learn as I need it because that's how I learn the best. So thank you for joining me. I greatly appreciate your time, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a comment or like, because then I know people are enjoying it, and then I know to keep on making it. But as I said before, I think I'll just keep making them anyway because I'm having a blast with this. So thank you very much, and have yourself a good day. Bye.